Good evening, one and all. Welcome along. It is season 4, episode 21 of the UK Dallas Cowboys TV and podcast. Joined tonight by two Scottish brothers, Paul and Lauren. And of course, you see her down there in the bottom left as we look, the wonderful, beautiful, and talented Miss Meg Murray. Meg, how are things?
You know, guys, it could be better, but honestly, it could be a lot worse. So we're doing okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, as you see rolling through the bottom of the screen, we lost to some team there on Sunday Night Football. We're now third in the NFC East, or the NFC Beast, as we are now going to call it. And we have a 4-2 record. I think 4-2 is pretty good considering we've had a backup quarterback in for 5 games.
Well, you know that 4-2 is good enough to be the 4th seed in the NFC. If you were to put everybody in the NFC in order of ranking, we're 4th at the moment. So,
yeah,
just goes to show how good the records of Philadelphia and the Giants are. I certainly don't think either team are going to be. I think we shot ourselves in the foot in this game, to be honest. So,
yeah. I think like if we look at it, like the game was decided basically on the 3 turnovers. And I was putting the stats together. I'm looking and going, how did we lose this game? And it's the 3 turnovers, simple as that.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just literally just saying, yeah. Pretty much. I've got nothing really much else to add on top of that, really, because at the end of the day, it was literally just the turnovers that just kind of killed us. Like, we had a shocker of a first half. We managed to come back. The momentum, the run game was actually being effective. Seat was actually running the ball in that second half. And just when momentum was really at its peak, it just completely fell and shot us in the foot. And that was that.
Yeah, I mean, Paul and I talked about this on the World's team on Saturday, but my key to winning this game was for Cooper Rush to continue to play a perfect game, and he wasn't able to do that. Really unfortunate. He has gotten close to throwing an interception, and like he's gotten the ball on the ground a couple of times before, but he's been bailed out a lot of these times, and it just wasn't our day.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the one thing we have to look at. Like, we went to their stadium, hostile crowd. I think it's the only time in the season where they actually managed to fill out that place they play in. Their head coach was screaming like it was a Super Bowl victory. Considering they were talking about how Jason Peters went out, not discounting the fact that we were missing our starting quarterback, our starting left tackle, and our starting tight end. I mean, I think we did pretty well.
For a local team that's narrow-minded, let them think that. Because, like Jason, like we mentioned on the Wolves team, Jason Kelsey kind of called us pretty much a more global franchise, and which we are. So,
yep.
And this is why we have the podcast with yourself and Meg called the World's Team.
Yes.
You're not going to find that on Bleeding Green Nation or anything like that. You can only find that on Blogging the Boys.
Well, you've also got to remember that the Eagles only just started podcasts something like 3 or 4 years ago. Team podcasts, because at that point in time we were talking about how the Cowboys were actually broadcasting on Alexa as well. So
amateurs.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'm so salty about this. I really am.
That's okay. Let it out.
If I let it all out, then I'll probably be barred from Blogging the Boys.
Sure. I mean, you kind of brought this up though, Nick Sirianni. That after the game when he just had to let out that "How about them Eagles" saying, that just proves like how corny this man is.
Yes.
Just. The funny thing is, like, he's the kind of guy that if he wasn't the Eagles head coach and he wasn't winning, that fan base would absolutely hate this man. He is, like, the absolute opposite of everything that they stand for. And so like the only reason they like that man is because they're winning. And when he does stuff like that, I'm sure they're all just like, what the?
The same could be said for the Giants head coach in a way as well. Like the both of these head coaches seem to be like hype men more than actual coaches. Like you're saying Brian Doblepure screaming going to the crowd, going, yeah, like an absolute Mongol. But yeah, but it's just aye.
Paul, like I was seeing some of your tweets at the early hours of Monday morning between yourself and Rich, the abuse you guys were taking, but giving it right back to Eagles and other fan bases as well was something to behold.
Yeah, you can't hold it back. I think Jay Tuck actually mentioned this. He was like, this is the week where I could see Cowboys fans like giving it back to other people, and we haven't really done that in the past. We just kind of like whatever. Now I feel like we have that defense. We have something to really like hold over their heads, and we just talked a lot of trash this week. And you know what? We lost, but we still looked good. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I don't care what Eagles fans say, Hassan Reddick is not Micah Parsons. that is going to be one of the most absurd takes I've ever seen in my life. It really is. Like the guy only got recorded one tackle. He got absolutely dominated by Terrence Steele throughout the whole game. And yet Michael Parsons was out there. He was balling. He was out there in coverage doing everything. Right? The only criticism you can give Michael Parsons was for that stupid the
penalty. Yeah,
the penalty. So, but other than that, Michael Parsons is like tenfold better than Hassan Reddick. So, Eagles fans, if you even get to see this podcast right now, shut it.
What did you think about that penalty though? Because that one I felt like it was so ticky-tacky, and it wasn't like, I felt like they were kind of gunning for him at that point.
100%.
It's just my Cowboys bias, but that one just seemed silly.
100%. I totally agree. I kind of felt as though there was a lot of referees that are just literally were out for us pretty much in that game.
You think they read Micah Parsons' tweets last week?
Oh yeah,
probably.
Oh, they absolutely did that. And obviously, like, I mean, that led on to Trayvon's penalty as well. And do you know what? I'm just happy to see passion from our guys. Yeah, we lost, and yeah, they were stupid. But
I'm all about being like having that level of aggression, but it needs to be. And we kind of talked about this on Saturday. Was the controlled aggression? Like you don't want to go over too board about it, but yeah, I love seeing the players being passionate. They're being passionate about this team, but they need to kind of remember referees will find any excuse to throw the flag on you. Any excuse nowadays. Yeah. But here's the thing, and it goes back to the inconsistencies. There was another game at the weekend there where a player took off his helmet and smashed it on the ground, and he didn't get flagged. So why is this any different to what Trayvon Diggs did?
Yep.
It's just so inconsistent. It really is.
My sister kept getting really frustrated with it because she was just like, he didn't even do it to anyone else. He just did it to himself. That was all about him. Like, why are you flagging him for that? I was like, you know what? He didn't be doing that stuff, but I can see why he did it in the first place.
Yeah. And I mean, what gets me as well? Yeah, Micah Parsons got up, did the guns and all that. But you know, anytime a team picks off a ball, you know, they run down to the end zone in front of the camera and they all pose like that and everything like that. Surely that's taunting. I mean, you know, you got to draw a line somewhere. I'm all for, you know, when they banned touchdown celebrations and all that, you know, 5 or 15 years ago or whatever, you know, that was taking it too far. But now they've gone too far the other way now, and you're just too loose with most things, and it's crazy what you do get fines for. So
no fun league.
Yeah. I was going to say it if you didn't, Paul. But look, before we go any further, as always, we say to everyone who's tuned in and watching, make sure and interact with us. Send in your comments. Let us know what you thought about the match, who you thought were standout players. Let us know if you have any questions for Meg, as it's great to have Meg joining us for this evening's show. And and we'll take from there. But look, we'll flip into the news and updates. So I think the best thing coming out of Sunday night's game, obviously, was that Dak took about 50 snaps in the pre-game warm-ups. Looked solid, didn't seem to have any adverse effect with the thumb injuries. So it looks like we should have him back for the weekend's game against the Lions.
Yeah, he was looking sharp. The ball only hit the ground a couple of times by all accounts. And, you know, I don't think he was doing corner routes and what have you, but he wasn't really testing himself going over the middle or whatever. But, I mean, you know, there's only so much you can do in a sort of scripted session like that. But it certainly looks as if he's on his way back, hopefully this week. You know, there's no setbacks in practice or anything like that. So,
yeah. Meg, is there anything you're hearing out in Dallas at the minute in terms of Dak, or
say that again?
Is there anything you're hearing out in Dallas at the minute, or I mean, I'm guessing today is the first day back training, so you probably have to warm through.
Yeah, today it sounds like is the day where they decide if he'll be a full participant tomorrow. It's sounding like it's going to be that way. Jerry has been giving. You know how he loves to drop little nuggets when he's on the fan and stuff like that. And he was basically saying, like, barring anything crazy, and then the evaluation comes back clean, he's going to be playing on Sunday, which I myself obviously am very excited about. I love Dak Prescott. I think that, you know, if you had played this game with Dak Prescott like this last weekend, this would have been a completely different story that we'd be talking about today. However, I don't want him to rush back. If he's like really not fully there and he needs like another week, like I don't feel like this is one where you need to rush him back. And I'm sure obviously they'll be the ones to evaluate that. I think if Cooper played this weekend, it wouldn't be a terrible thing, but I would love to see Dak back.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I don't think it's a terrible thing if he does play the game against the Lions. It's a manageable team that, you know, you should be able to run all over.
Touch wood, not touch wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know Dan Campbell's going to have them up and ready for this game, considering, you know, he's an ex-player for us as well. So
yeah.
I mean, talk about your rah-rah coaches. Dan Campbell's right up there with with Nick Sirianni and all that jazz.
I would imagine he will have that Detroit Lions team hyped up right now. And they would be ready to play right now, but it's an awful lot of energy they're expending for no return. But the one kind of question I have in terms of Dak, and it's a slight concern, and this kind of goes back to Casey Thompson, who's played for Texas last year and is playing for Big Red this year. He had a similar injury, and like he didn't come back the best of it. His throwing and his mechanics seem to be a little bit off. Does that concern anyone?
Okay, I'll take that. That doesn't concern me necessarily. Let's just think about the access that Dak Prescott has that Casey Thompson doesn't.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not disparaging Texas nor Nebraska in any way in their facilities and whatnot. But when you're talking about the Dallas Cowboys and the kind of like staff that the medical staff, the rehab staff, the training staff that they have on hand, plus he's an experienced quarterback. So he just has everything going for him in his return. I don't think he would come back if he didn't think he could be 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like Labar stays is just be the comment there. We do have the best medical staff pretty much in the league. Pretty much. I mean, like, when you look back through history, amount of players that we've had, like even Michael Gallup, he was due to miss half the season. He came back in week 5, week 4,
week 5,
like way ahead of schedule. So, Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and even talk like even Jalen Smith, like a guy who never was supposed to play football ever again. He managed to still managed to make a career. So our medical staff deserve all the praise in the world right now.
Yeah, and as Meg says, it's he's Dak's an established quarterback. Casey Thompson is still learning his craft in the college game. And you are going to try little things when you're coming back from an injury. If you can't grip the ball properly or whatever, you've got to try and do things to get it working. So maybe had an effect on him.
Yeah.
That comment though, who said that?
The big Lebowski. So he just mentioned Damon Clark.
No, that's a absolutely amazing point to make. Considering you drafted this guy thinking, he'd have a quote unquote redshirt year, like he wasn't going to have any chance of touching a football field this year. And they're sitting here being like, he's a couple weeks out from playing. Are you kidding me? That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yep. And the guy's a baller as well.
I mean, he's a Tiger, so I know.
I knew you were going to say that.
So Meg, go on, give us the lowdown on what to expect from Damone Clark when he does take to the field.
He's a chaos. Like, he thrives in chaos. He's like the calm in the middle of the storm. He will create the storm, and then he's gonna just like take advantage of everything that you leave in his wake. So he's a great guy.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
So the other moves that have happened since the guys were last on Thursday was Simi Fehoko and Rico Dowdle have moved to IR. Dalton Schultz missed another game at the weekend. And that benefited both Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot. So I suppose the kind of question I have, maybe looking towards, say, 2023, do we imagine Dalton Schultz will be on the roster?
Nope, straight away. Like,
Yeah.
I think how the development side of both Hendershot and Ferguson are working right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be in smaller, like obviously salary cap, they're smaller deals. We've got them for more longer term because of their contracts right now. I don't see the point of us giving all that unnecessarily extra cash to Dalton Schultz right now, like when these two guys are performing right the way they are right now. So especially in the run defense right now, Ferguson was great in the run defense. Sorry, run offense. Sorry, run offense. Sorry,
You're good.
Sorry.
I was gonna say he's gonna be worth that to somebody, but when you are developing somebody like Jake Ferguson, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the fact that he's made such progress as well and had the opportunity to play so many snaps, due to Dalton being injured. And if you think about it, Dalton's injury is the same one that Zeke was dealing with all last year. So it's just kind of one of those where you are going to see a lot of Jake or Ferguson and a bit of Hendershot. Hopefully he can get that penalty thing under control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the whole thing, Dalton Schultz maybe should have taken another couple of weeks anyway and let it heal a bit better. But is he worried about these guys snapping at his heels, and he's not putting tape together on for prospective purchasers of him. He's needing to put the tape together to move on, because obviously the writing's on the wall that we've got cheaper guys who actually I think are actually almost. They're at his level already in their rookie year now. Okay, there may be a fall off towards the end of the year as they hit that rookie wall for 9 or 10 games in. Because they're used to a college season of 10 games and a month off before they start doing the bowl games if your team's lucky enough to get to a bowl.
Shows the boss just made actually a good point in there. Like, when Dak comes back, obviously his number one safety blanket is Dalton Schultz. So do we maybe expect to see a turn of the tide in terms of who's going to get the ball?
I would say we will see a turn in the tide, because CD is now wide receiver 1. For me, Dalton Schultz is your next target, because Gallup is inconsistent at the minute. So
yeah,
that I can see where his point is, but what about what do you guys think?
I mean, he's gotten a lot of work in with CD and with Dalton, even in the off season. So I think it's fair to say that like his first thought or the first scheme that you're going to draw up is going to be CD. It's going to be Dalton Schultz. Now, if Dalton isn't in the game for some reason, he's very comfortable throwing into that tight end spot too. So it's anyone that's there is going to benefit from that. But yeah, I do agree with you that I think CD and Dalton Schultz will get the majority of his looks at least.
Yep.
So any other news that anyone has heard in the past couple of hours? As I say, I know today will be our first day back at practice after Sunday night game. So is there anything I've missed out on?
No, besides the fact I'm still trying to wake up.
Not Cowboys related, but the NFL is going to have a game on Black Friday. So after your 3 games on Thanksgiving, they're also going to move one of the games to a Friday night as well. So you're going to have four games those first 2 nights of the weekend.
Got one in the comments coming in. Labas is just asking, does anyone know what happened with Simi Fehoko?
I think he picked up a shoulder injury in Friday's practice, but I mean, whether this is fortuitous timing and it's roster management to bring other people up, because they've elevated the elevated Overton, the long snapper. So that was one space that's been created, and they've been able to, they've got the ability to bring somebody else up as well. So.
Yeah, just to build on that, though, he re-injured his shoulder during practice. And it looks like Dalton also tweaked his injured knee during that practice as well. So
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's move on and let's discuss the game and flip it over to the Dallas Cowboys offense. So I think this game has fully put to bed the non-debate about who our quarterback one is.
Oh, absolutely.
Discuss.
Dak's our QB1. End of story. I'm keeping it short and simple.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that needs to be said more too. I'll give you some boots on the ground over here in Dallas. There is a on the way from Dallas to the stadium in Arlington. There is some lovely graffiti on the side of the highway that says Cooper Rush is QB1, Dak can't throw. That was put there I think it was after the week 2 game against the Bengals. And I just want to talk to that guy and see how he's doing after that performance on Sunday.
For all we know, it could be a troll. For all we know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Or is Cooper Rush's wife, because she's got to earn her money somehow to fly to Philadelphia.
She jinxed it. She jinxed it.
She did, yes.
Not to put any heat on Mrs. Rush's life here, but you screwed this lady. But I'm sorry, I just got an advert coming through my headphones there and it just blew my eardrums out.
All struggling over there.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be said first and foremost, Cooper Rush did a great job keeping us. I think someone said it best on Twitter, and I'll try to figure out who it was, but his job was to keep us out of the ditch, and he did that. So we have a much easier road than we could have had we, dropped a bunch of those games in Dak's absence. So the fact that he was able to keep us on track, helped out by a lot by the defense and all that stuff, but it can't be understated how his gameplay and him being able to keep us from being winless.
Yep.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have dogs playing with squeaky toys over here, so if you hear that, they're very distracting.
So the question I'm going to ask, right, of the three of you, who is the QB2 in the NFC Beast? Who is the second best quarterback in the NFC East? Is there a case for Cooper Rush being the second best quarterback?
No.
No, yeah, Jalen Hurts.
I might actually go Danny Dimes, believe it or not.
Yep.
Controversial.
His arm's a little stronger than.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know what it is with Jalen Hurts. Like, I'm just still not sold by him. Yeah, he kind of outsmarted us in a couple of plays and stuff like that in terms of how the offense was set. But I kind of feel like this is so weird saying this, but I generally find Daniel Jones is better than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I can see the point
Jalen Hurts has caught lightning in the bottle at the moment, but I mean, you know, at some point he's going to cost that team a couple of games. He's going to make the wrong call. I mean, we had a fairly good game plan against him, and that, you know, make him throw the ball, and they did that. And it's just the way their system works that, you know, that run pass option is so critical to them that, you know, and it does make our defenders sort of second guess what they're needing to do. You know, which is why he's scheming receivers open. But
yeah,
you know, a slightly, I wouldn't say better prepared, but you know, a team that's experienced the RPO a lot better, you know, will be better equipped for that one. And I just don't think we've had the exposure to it as much as we need to combat it.
Yeah,
I think we all agree that Carson Wentz is not in the discussion.
Well, he's now out for 4 to 6 weeks now. With funny enough, ironically, a finger injury as well.
Yeah, broken ring finger.
Mm-hmm. Ouch.
But Paul, I'm going to give you the floor on this one because you're giving this man a lot of love on Twitter in the past 36 hours since the game has ended. Talk to me about Terrence Steele.
He was probably, without a doubt, our best offensive lineman in probably the past 3 games. He's completely he did from a disastrous start. Well, I wouldn't say disastrous start at the Bucs game. He was kind of exposed at parts again in the Bucs game, but by God, he's turned things around. He's been solid. I'm just looking at his grade on PFF right now. So he was given a run block percentage grade of 82.8%. His pass blocking, for some reason, was given a really low grade, but I disagree with that because he managed to keep Hassan Reddick away to only one tackle from, and that was from a run perspective. But he pretty much set off the edge, just kept the edge sealed throughout the whole time. So fair play to Terrence Steele. I generally thought he was absolutely fantastic. So, and I'm going to be writing an article about this. So about Terrence Steele and how much he's actually kind of evolved for the past couple of weeks. And it's now a debate now. It's like, do we feel more comfortable him being this actual starting right tackle now? Because people had this conception of him being, is he really a starter? Is he still a backup of a backup? What, is he a second string, first string type of guy? To me personally, he's our starter.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I mean, you saw this at the start of last season as well. He was, you know, when he fell in for Lyell, because obviously Lyell coming back from injury, and then five games because he'd duped testers and what have you. But I mean, you know, he was great up until the point where they started moving him around as a sort of swing tackle and stepping him in for Tyron Smith on the left-hand side and expecting him to switch automatically from the right to the left. Now that he's on the right-hand side solely, I mean, that seems to be where his game's playing very well. And, this line is coming together. It had a few problems the last couple of weeks, but generally this line is coming together, and it is certainly one of the plus points of the early part of this season, I would say.
So, Meg, the question to you, apart from Murphy not wanting to play any ball, is: Are you
wants to play ball as long as it squeaks?
are you missing your much beloved LSU Tiger Lyle Collins?
I mean, I am, but they've been able to pull it together pretty nicely. So I'll give them credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the fact that they were able to establish a run game after like a disastrous first half really speaks a lot to the resiliency of the line and the team in general. So
yeah,
hats off to them for that.
I kind of feel like, as much as I'm being low on a big critics of Joe Philbin, there has been times where Joe Philbin has managed to change things so drastically from the bad to good. So I do have to give Philbin credit in that. There's still times where I do question. I was like, how did we take that step back? But it seems like as the game kind of went on, he managed to make some in-game decisions, and we actually became more effective. So fair play to the coaching as well.
Yeah. I'm just going to bring up DJ Dog's comment here. Anyone talk about the Eagles coach talking BS at the end of the game?
Yeah, we've discussed it.
Yeah, the guy's an absolute muppet.
Yeah.
Just wanted to give Paul another opportunity there to say that.
He's just so cheesy. Just like the T-shirt thing and the "How about them Eagles" thing. The funny thing about both of those is that they're both going to bite him in the arse, as you guys would say. So,
hey,
on Christmas Eve, bud.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun in Dallas on Christmas Eve for that team.
It'll be fun for me though.
Oh yes. But the next place I want to talk about from Sunday's game, a guy who's been under a lot of pressure and a lot of talk for the last 2 or 3 seasons, let's be honest about it. And a lot of people are talking about him as being a candidate for the cut after this season. Ezekiel Elliott has been working his tail off this year, and I would be leaning towards keeping him on from 2023. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion because most people want Tony Pollard, but Tony Pollard can't do what Zeke does.
I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go on, Meg.
No, you go.
Well, right, okay. I completely agree. I mean, anybody that says that Tony Pollard should be in this game more just doesn't understand what Zeke is doing. And, is perhaps clouded by the fact that Zeke has this big contract. It's purely, Zeke is your sixth man if you're blocking for a pass. You need him. He's also, I mean, he's putting his body on the line all the time, going up, getting these dirty yards, 3, 4, 5 yards. And yeah, I mean, it's taken its toll. And, he's not 2016 Zeke. But I mean, you saw glimpses of it there on that touchdown run, but some of those spins that he was putting on and leaving the defenders in the dust. I mean, the only thing he missed out on was a hurdle there, So he's still got it in his game plan. It's just a case of, he's becoming your sort of grind it out to 3 yards in the cloud of dust sort of guy, and pounding it away so that Pollard has something to do. And something to capitalize on when these guys are expecting Zeke to come up the middle again. That change of pace to the outside is what Zeke's doing. He's opening that up for Pollard. So
go on, Meg.
I mean, so Paul and I have talked about this a couple times. really what I like to see out of our running game is the fact that it's a 1-2 punch. I don't think Tony Pollard gets as many yards, even if he gets as many touches as you guys, as people want him to, because, you can game play around Tony. You saw that this week. He was still able to get through there because you're sending Zeke up there too. So the fact that you have to deal with that double-headed monster is a pretty big deal and good for our game. But if you think about the last couple years, Zeke has really had to readjust his game, simply because obviously last year he was injured. But just the fact that they've had a bit of a patchwork O-line the last couple years, he's really had to step up, like Lauren said, and be that other blocker. And that's not the flashy stuff that everyone notices in games. They like to see you rip through defenses and get a touchdown. But you can't do that when you're like not able to protect your quarterback, not able to protect your runners. So he has to come in and step in and do that stuff, and it's just not as flashy. So people kind of overlook that, and that's a huge part of his game.
So we do have a question for you, Meg, from our own much beloved Mike Poland.
I am seeing that because these dogs are keeping me on my toes.
So, Paul, do you want to go ahead with that breaking news there that you've just put in the private chat?
Yeah, it's not necessarily Cowboys related, but Joey Epstein has tweeted out saying that Colts owner Jim Irsay was at a league meeting with multiple people and on the subject of Dan Snyder, and commented says, "I believe there's a merit now to remove him as the owner of the Commanders."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone want to speak on that?
Jerry, that's exactly what Jerry Jones said. He doesn't want to speak on it. He's not talking about Dan Snyder, and I don't see him voting against him, or at least if it's in any sort of public way. Not that I agree with his sentiment there. I think Dan Snyder needs to go, but I don't know.
Yeah, I certainly think he does need to go, but obviously there was things that were leaked this week that he knows where some of the skeletons are, and if you think some of the things that have come out about the Commanders are bad, then some of the other things that have happened in this league are. Oh God! Right. Okay.
So, if anyone cannot see the comment, might just comment. So the Commanders are commandless. Oh God!
It wasn't obvious by Ron Rivera throwing his quarterback under a moving bus.
Big time. Yeah, so that's not my decision. That was Snyder's decision or something like that. Oh,
well, he basically said he was not good, and I was like, "Well, we know that, but you're not supposed to say that."
And DJ Dogs no, keep Snyder is the perfect owner as a Cowboys fan. I agree. In that respect. But if you're ever planning going to Washington and go to their stadium, I would avoid it like the plague.
Well, the funny thing is, I feel like when he said that he knows where the skeletons or the bodies are buried or whatever, throws people under the boat, not the bus. Yes, Mike. But I feel like that was a pointed comment to Roger and honestly to Jerry. So I don't know about that.
Yeah.
He could spill a lot of tea on his way out the door.
Yeah. I mean, look, he might have a lot of tea to spill. There's plenty of people that have tea to spill on him that have not spoken of that as of yet. So I would say he might be best served to keep his mouth shut and not have his day in court.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
The last thing I kind of want to talk about before we move over to the defense, in terms of our wide receivers and dropsies this year, and there seems to be a little bit of a lack of fight in them to win contested balls. Is that concerning for any of you?
Slightly,
but I mean, I think obviously there was Gallup was targeted 7 times, only caught 2 balls. And I was hearing on one of the podcasts this week, they're saying that the way Gallup's running is suggesting that he's not 100% yet still. There's obviously still, whether it's a psychological or whether it's physical, there's still an issue with the leg to an extent, and that's preventing him from running the routes correctly. I also don't know if there's a problem with the wide receivers coaching, but obviously we've had the emergence of Noah Brown, so there's obviously some guys are picking up on what they're being taught. There's also it's maybe the pressure that Gallup and CD Lamb are under to try and get themselves to that number one position.
Yeah, I could see that being part of it. Also, just the fact that it's Cooper Rush at the helm, so that's why he's had a lot of work with Noah Brown. That's why he has a good connection with him. I feel like, and like I said, Dak has had a lot of work with Schultz and CD in the off season. They know each other very well, so I feel like that might have a little bit to do with it. Like Dak knows when he can throw a little bit further for X wide receiver, and he'll be able to catch up to it. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It kind of feels like it's a factor, just given the fact that it's Cooper Rush versus Dak Prescott. Someone's moving around a food bowl, so.
It's like Meg's become Houdini on the show today.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep them from barking at each other.
So, anything else you want to talk about on the offensive side of the ball, or would you like to move over to the defense?
I'm more than happy. Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. So, defensively, again, another very solid and very good game from the defense. I don't think the numbers that were given up were huge. We sacked the quarterback 4 times, no turnovers, but you're not going to have a turnover in every game. But it's the first time this team has conceded more than 19 points in a game this season. So, look, you're going to get games like that. So,
I will say though, is due to silly mistakes, it could have been under 19 points.
Yeah,
like the Dante Fowler situation with the 4th down, that triggered me something awful. That it's like you knew they were trying to make you jump offside. Just don't jump. Just stand there and just let them take the time out, and therefore they would just go for the field goal, like stuff like that. So yeah, it's just stuff like that. It really annoyed me, and we see that Jamie's in the house. Yep, screw Philly, struggled to beat our backup quarterback, yet they're finding the next best find. They're really as stupid as they look. Truth, Jamie. said it like an absolute poet.
He's right though. I feel like if I took anything positive away from this game, is that we're just as good, if not better, than the Eagles when we have our full team together. I feel like there were a lot of dumb mistakes that were made that could have been offset with a elite quarterback leading the offense. Especially that Dante Fowler one was just him and Dan probably had a sit down one-on-one meeting this week because he had 2 major penalties that really changed the game.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time this season he's done that as well, where he's jumped off sides when clearly the team or the opposition are trying to bait you into jump sides. So it's almost like going back to when we had Michael Bennett on the Michael Bennett,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Michael Bennett, yeah,
lining up in the neutral zone.
Yeah, so it's almost something like that. Whether it's something they know that he's prone to do in the past. And that's what you notice he's there and you're trying to get him to jump. But that's should be child's play to somebody who's been in the league for 5 or 6 years like he has. That should be something you should know step one what they're going to do.
And like you rightly called it, Lauren. Like this isn't a rookie who's making these mistakes. This is a former first-round draft pick who didn't get a second contract from the team who drafted him. I think he's playing on a rookie or a vet minimum at the minute. So, and we picked him up late enough in free agency. So he's not putting down tape that people are going to go, right, we need to maybe have a look and reevaluate this guy. It's not like a couple of years ago where we brought in Robert Quinn for a vet minimum and he had 8 sacks in his first 8 games. You're just, if you want to have a career in the NFL, a long-term career, you got to cut out mistakes like that.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, those were 2 huge mistakes by him, but I will say overarchingly his season he's been doing great this season, especially he stood out in the Bengals game and he stood out in the Giants game as well. So rolling.
Really, Mike? Really?
So Mike is definitely stirring the tea leaves here.
Mike, Mike, me and you are going to have words about that comment.
So for anyone who is unable to see this comment, Mike has just said Dontari Poe wouldn't jump offside. Paul, what have you got to say to that?
Mike's getting punched across the face for that comment. Everybody knows how I feel about Dontari Poe.
Yeah.
Biggest waste of space that's ever played in the Cowboys jersey, in my personal opinion. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but as a player, no.
Paul is not holding his bunches back tonight. But I think you guys spoke about this last week in terms of Dorrance Armstrong has really stepped up this season. He's another sack this week. I think that's his 6th sack of the season, is it?
5th, and it's actually his career. He's also equaled his career best. So, with him given more game time, with the departure of Randy Gregory, etc., he's taken the opportunity and he is taking it by both hands. Like he's really stepped up, and we're seeing him really playing out some really good football in terms of like the pressures he's doing. Putting onto the quarterbacks and how he's running into the run defense, he's contributing so much. So, and this is probably what the whole narrative is. Why is Darren Armstrong being kept in the squad for so long? He's one of Jerry's boys. Now we're understanding why he was kept on, because this is the potential that he was supposed to have, and we're now finally seeing that. So, fair play to Dorrance Armstrong. He's been playing absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And if you look at it, like he's contributing in 2 phases of the ball. Like he's saving your roster spot for a special teams player because he's playing on both ways, and he's contributed in special teams. I mean, he was responsible for the block punt previous week, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah. And he was on the Cowboys Hour a couple of weeks back, and he actually said that now that he's a fixture in the defense, that they were looking at whether they should take him off special teams, and he's actually demanded that he stays on special teams as well, because he knows that he enjoys playing the special teams and trying to get the hand up and block the punt, the field goal, whatever. So he's not wanting taken off, so he's willing to do the dirty work both on the defense and the special teams as well. So that just goes to show that you're getting your value for money as well. And some people wondered whether he was worth that contract that he's got, even though it's half the value of what Randy Gregory was getting. But he's certainly saying that he's more than earned what he's making this year, I'd say already.
Yeah. And another defensive line guy that we want to give a shout out to, he drafted in 2021 and has probably gone a little bit under the radar, given Mike Parsons' impact, given the impact also Diggy Zua has had. Chauncey Golston, 5 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback hit were his stat numbers for this weekend's game.
Yeah, he's kind of been molded into the whole like Tyrone Crawford type of role where he can fit on the edge and fit in the inside as a free tech. He had probably one of his best games as a Cowboy so far and looked pretty good. Yeah. Like,
Yep.
like when you here's the thing though, when you're looking at the defensive line, and this is what I love talking about the most is the D line. When you're going up against like Jalen Hurts playing the run play option, and you're expecting anytime it's going to be a pass, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a quick pass because he would want to try and get the ball out quickly. So that does kind of eliminate the defensive line to a certain extent. But for what the defensive line managed to do in that game, knowing what Hurts was going to do with the run play option and like the quick passes to the screens and stuff like that, etc., you can't help complain that the defensive line managed to do so well because I think it was a total of 16 pressures, 4 sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, when all things considering, that is a pretty good statistic when you put that in perspective. Even though not all the defensive line got sacks, I think one of them was Donovan Wilson got a sack as well, I believe.
Donovan Wilson, Goldston.
Yep.
Lawrence Armstrong and Dante Wilson.
Yeah, so 3 D linemen pretty much, and one and Donovan Wilson. So collectively, it was a really good effort from a defensive line point of view. It was just, yeah.
I suppose. Look, it wouldn't be a show without having Meg Murray on that we don't talk about a free safety. Malik Hooker, 12 tackles. Meg, discuss.
That was huge. Just like that the fact that this position is being taken seriously right now by this team is just a beautiful sight. You can see the way that it makes a difference and an impact on the defensive side of the ball. And just like Malik Hooker, what a game. Number 1 in tackles.
Yep.
Incredible.
Yep.
12 tackles, 10 solo tackles from the free safety position. I mean, that's unheard of. But
that was huge.
If I granted you the wish, Meg, would you take back number 38?
I would love to see number 38 coached by Dan Quinn. I'll tell you that much.
I think given the interview we did with him for the 2021 draft, he would have loved to have been coached by Dan Quinn himself.
Of course.
He spoke glowingly of Dan Quinn.
Talk about 2 votes right there.
That's it. But if I suppose we've kind of glossed over DeMarcus Lawrence impact in this game as well. I mean, DeMarcus had 8 tackles, a tackle for loss as well. But I mean, the pressure he was applying and freeing up space for other players to do things. I mean, DeMarcus has really matured as a player in the past 18 months. I think he's not about getting the sacks and celebrating or anything like that. He's knowing his role and how to play his role, and it's creating opportunities for other.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. You know, he's even, you know, he is where he was outspoken when he was the leader of the Hot Boys and all that. You know, they've taken a step back on that. They've, you know, it's a more business-like approach that they're doing, and it's working for them. You know, and there is no hype about them outside of the media creating the hype. They're not creating their own hype. They're not, you know, again, they're not doing the Hot Boy stuff. They're not coming along with swag and what have you. And I think, you know, this change in DeMarcus Lawrence, where he's dropped about 15 pounds, he looks lighter. He's got rid of the dreads actually, and he's, you know, more the sort of crew cut almost type hairstyle. You know, all of that is just showing a slightly more business-like approach, probably, and it seems to be working. So, fair play to them.
Yeah.
He took a lot of trash being able to get back there, I will say that. But he did, the applying pressure was helpful.
Yeah.
And Lawrence's defense, no pun intended, even though Lawrence can trash talk, but he backed up his words, what he was going to do in the game. In fairness, like when the stats don't lie, and the amount of times like some Miles Sanders had to back out from going to his running route because of DeMarcus Lawrence. It's actually quite evident throughout the game. So, I mean, it sucks that we lost, but there's still quite a lot of positives you can still take from this game. It doesn't give Eagles the first loss in the stats and all that, whatever. But thinking more longer term, going ahead like against like going to the Lions, then going to Green Bay later on, and all the other games like the Colts and Texans, etc. Then the return game at Christmas Eve against the Eagles. All these things will play a big factor going forward.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, if you look at the way our season's laid out, I mean, okay, you can say they were underperforming, but we've certainly had a heavy task this first 5-6 games of the season. You've gone against the Super Bowl champion, you've gone against the Super Bowl runner-up, you've gone against Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's invincible, except not this year. And you're seeing that we've now got, obviously, we've got the NFC North coming up. We're back to back with Detroit, Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota. So you got those guys to come up with. Green Bay is actually struggling this year, and they're 0-2 against New York teams at the moment. And Aaron Rodgers is not. He seems to have lost the magic. I mean, perhaps he should be presenting Jeopardy now. But.
Lauren with the burn on poor Aaron, but
in fairness, he does kind of deserve some criticism. That him in London was absolutely shocking. Why would you throw that just right at the end? So that was pretty much as bad as Russell Wilson's pass in the Super Bowl to secure. That was just terrible. So,
and that hairstyle he's sporting at the moment is just abysmal.
He's trying to go for the whole Nicolas Cage Con Air look.
I mean, it should be said too that they should not have let Devontae Adams go. So,
Yep.
Are we in the last days of potentially two of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL? Is it possible that by the end of this season, both Rodgers and Brady will be retired?
I mean, nothing's holding Brady back now, so why quit?
I knew someone was going to say that.
Divorced. Like, okay, stay longer. 5 more years. Do it.
Yeah.
It's saying that. Did anyone see the sign some little kid put up during the game? It's like, I can't remember word for word, but it's like, hey, Giselle, I'm available now, or something like that.
There's a lot of those.
Oh, God. Crazy.
Absolutely. So, touching back on a point, Paul, you brought this up earlier, just when we were talking about the initial thoughts on the game. Micah Parsons dropped back a lot into coverage during Sunday night's game. He had 2 passes defended as well as 7 tackles on the tackle for a loss. Is this part of the evolution of Micah Parsons as we see it, that we know what he can do at the line, but teams are scheming against that, and he's suddenly stepping back the field and is covering guys, because I know there was one or two plays the previous week where he did it, and then obviously 2 passes defended on Sunday night.
I mean, we know he could do it in general, Brian. That's the thing. It's like, it seems like because Parsons has been lined up as an additional defensive lineman, they think, oh, he's a DN now. No, his pure backbone as a linebacker, so he needs to know how to cover, and he can do that. He is literally a total package. And we kind of brought up before we went live this, I think we did mention it earlier, but the whole Hassan Riddick debate by the Eagles fans, they can honestly, I'm just baffled they think he's better than Micah Parsons. I'm sorry, but how do you define that? And Lauren, you mentioned, Lauren, it's like Micah Parsons was like player of the week and that.
Yep.
So last week,
I just don't get it. I just don't get why people are kind of like using Michael Parsons can't cover. Yes, he can. they saw that last year where he was pretty much playing like a second cornerback at one point as well,
Yeah.
dropping deep into coverage. So which I will just say, Parsons is a stud. He's a blue chip player, is on our Cowboys roster, and he's awesome. He is.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing you could say about this game with Parsons was that they were scheming them up to, they were leaving him free some of the time, and this run pass option that they use, obviously that had Parsons second guessing himself sometime because do you come up, do you go inside for the running back, do you come up and try and take Hurts' head off, or and allow Hurts to just dump the ball over the top of you, and that caused a little bit of confusion for Micah Parsons. But second half, he adjusted well, and one of the things about this defense as well that really was apparent to me this week was the fact that this defensive secondary of ours needs a lot more credit than it's actually getting, because the defensive line, they got pressure on Hurts and what have you, but when they're running all these screens, these run pass options, I mean, you need guys that can cover to really do a job, and I think they did. I mean, and not just Diggs, you were getting it from Anthony Brown, you were getting it from Jordan Lewis. Everybody that was out there was actually doing some good work there, and just limiting the damage that this run pass option does.
Yeah. So, anything else you would like to talk defense before we move on to talking about our special teams?
I'm not sure if this was touched on necessarily because Murphy's going crazy, but just the way that the defense against the run, I feel like that was a little bit exposed this week. So I'm interested to see how they kind of lock that up going forward. I mean, I don't think we're going to have too big of an issue with that, with the Lions and the Bears coming up. But there's going to be teams that we see down the stretch that are going to be able to use that against us. So, take this time to get that locked up is, something I would look for.
Are you talking about our run defense there, Meg? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the stats just now. Like, I'm not. We managed to keep them we managed to keep them down to 136 yards. Like, Miles Sanders did have the most, 18 carries for 71 yards, an average of 3.9, and his longest drive was a 13-yarder. I mean, it's not soul destroying, but it's one of those statistics. It just kind of slowly creeps up.
Exactly.
Type thing. Like, I'm not particularly worried. Like in fairness, though, the Eagles' offensive line is probably the best offensive line we played against. So, and them losing Lane Johnson that second half kind of slowed them down quite a lot. So, and it did kind of open up the opportunity for more for our defensive line in that as well. So, it's kind of. But I think with this game like going ahead for Detroit, I wouldn't be as worried, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you completely. They were able to clamp down on them, in the red zone when it counted, which is huge. But just being able to run up and down the middle is kind of an issue, and just letting someone like Miles Sanders kind of run the show for a little bit, like even when it's the middle of the field. Yes, let's not forget Damone Clark. Let's never forget Damone Clark.
Yep. We're really excited about that prospect. Very exciting.
The comment from Chris is just, let's not forget Damone Clark, who could have been a first-round pick if not for spinal surgery, is inching closer to play. And that's just another piece we can add into the mix.
Yeah. I mean, what I'd say, when you compare the rushing attacks this week, we had 134 yards on 26 carries for 5.2 yards. They took 39 carries to get 2 yards more than us. And so they were only 3.5 yards a carry.
Better than them, so that's not surprising.
Yeah. Oh, offensively, I can even speak. Statistic-wise, we were better. It didn't really. The only thing that killed us was the takeaways.
Yeah,
like that's what killed us. Like that second half, we were the better team. Like we should have won the game if it wasn't for. But that's football. Anything can happen.
Now we have to listen to those fans until Christmas Eve. So.
But just think of how good of a Christmas present it's going to be when we win.
That's all I want.
So I want some dirty birds for Christmas. Cooked on a smoker.
So, look, let's flip it over and let's talk special teams. So, Brett Money Marr discussed, Meg. I know you've been dying to talk about him.
Oh, former Nebraska Cornhusker Brett Maher. Yeah. Pull that out of nowhere. That's actually Kelsey's issue, not mine. I have no problem with Sir Brett.
Sir Brett.
But honestly, he's been great this year. That he did he missed one at the end of the game. Is that right?
Yeah, 59 yards.
59 yards.
Understandably, open air stadium. It's Philly. It can be mental over there in general. So I can let him off with that. Like 59 yards is a hard one. Like to just even get it in between the posts. So
if it was 60, he would have got it. So
But I mean, look, to be fair, I don't think Brett, he's missed one extra point this season, is it? And
it was another it was another field goal, and I think it was against the Giants. But that was more of a that was more of a coaching decision, because he even tried out doing that during free practice at the stadium before the game kicked off. And there was an extra point block as well, as Mike just pointed out.
Yeah, you've also got the extra point that against the Rams that just the holder, the snapper released too early as well. So he's only missed the field goal against the Giants in Giants Stadium and the field goal against
and understandably it could have went anywhere if there was a wee gust of wind or something like that. Like because of the range.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, it wasn't exactly going miles wide or anything like that. It was narrowly close. So he has been consistent. Like he's almost been near perfect at times.
Yeah, I mean the first stint he had with us. I mean, when he missed, what was it? There was a game in Tampa, I think, and he almost hit the cannons in the ship. So that's a considerable miss. But he's actually been doing a good job this year, and none of a lot of the first time round again, a lot of his kicks were just sort of sailing inside the posts. This is a lot more of his kicks are going straight down the middle. So, he obviously has changed his technique, changed his accuracy, and it's paying off dividends for us at the moment. So.
Yeah, I mean, he was solid last year too with the Saints. The one that he really missed was against us. So it's like that was the one time we really, looked at him again. We were like, same old guy. But, he's came back this year and he's pretty locked down.
Yeah. Just the comment here from Mike, just in terms of throwing shade at a former Texas kicker. Mike, let's not forget Justin Tucker kicked the game-winning field goal the last time the Aggies played Texas.
You guys and your college football shenanigans.
Well, another guy that I think this is more Mike's guy in terms of Cavante Turpin and having a return, either a kick return or a punt return. He had a 63-yard kick return on Sunday night. Almost got in for a touchdown. I mean, how soon do we think it is going to be before he houses one?
Sunday.
Yeah, I can certainly see us in the next couple of weeks as you start playing these cold games and the ball doesn't drift as far. Either when you're punting or kicking off as well, you're not going to get these kicks going through the end zone. So you're going to be outdoors. The ball's going to come short, and that's going to allow him to come onto it at speed. And the blocking seems different this year from the special teams as well, which is opening him up as well. And more importantly, touchwood, we're not getting half of these blocking the back penalties as well from the special teams. So it's not suddenly great. You've made a 32-yard return, and then wait a minute, you're going back 15 yards or whatever on the back of that. So it's certainly a game changer for this, and it's only going to help as the season goes on, and we have these cold weather games, and it's flipping the field. So.
Yeah, I mean, he got a taste for it at the beginning of the game, and then he went on to rip that 63-yard run and could have gone all the way in. That guy's hungry, and you give him one slight advantage, and he's going to go all the way in. So I can see that happening sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else, folks, before we get out of here?
Dallas forever, Philly for never.
Yep. There we go. So, Paul and Meg, do you want to give your show a shout out for everyone that's tuned in?
Yeah, come listen to us every Saturday on the Blogging the Boys Network. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us there, and we'll be. They have stuff every single day, but we're the most important, and that's on Saturday.
Yeah, and also Meg, don't forget to mention about the t-shirts as well.
Yeah, I don't think we closed that up yet. We were going to close it up on Sunday. So if you want to go ahead and get your Dallas Forever, Philly Forever t-shirt, you can go to, I believe it is shop-frontrunner.shopify.com. If you can't remember all that, we have it on our Twitter and Instagrams. So you should be able to grab that. Yeah, I should be because Kelsey and I have to close that up and get those printed. So
Yep.
Yeah, me and Lauren are going to be kitted out for sure.
So you can get that. You can follow Meg on @Meg Murray, and there's how many R's in that, Meg?
4.
There are 4.
4 R's.
I asked about that often. I was like, I can't get the one with 2, so I was like 3 seems like an accident. 4 is more intentional, so I went with 4.
And we do have a request from our person who loves his coffee. Can you get us some coffee mugs with that print?
Ooh, that's a good shout.
I'll have to talk to my counterpart, Miss Kelsey Charles, about that when she comes to get her dog on Thursday. So.
I'm just saying, they would sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Down for it.
Paul, you're going to need a bigger suitcase.
Yeah, I need a bigger suitcase.
And I strongly disagree with this last comment from Mike. There are a lot of Meg Murrays. There is only one Meg Murray.
Well, the one that has the handle that I want, her last name isn't even Murray anymore. She got married. So, give me the handle.
So annoying.
Look, as we say, the Mike and the team will be back here on Thursday night with a breakdown of the Detroit game, of where they think things are going to go. Before we get out of here, we were going to pay the bills. So follow our fellow content creators so you can see them there in terms of talking to the boys, the hanging with the boys, blogging with the boys, girls talking boys, J-Tuck, Big Game James, Jeff Kavanagh, Katie's Fun Tweet. So all of those guys there. And if Paul or Lauren, if you'd like to give a shout out to our wonderful partners at Cowboys Experience.
Yeah, guys.
Go on, Paul, you do it, miss.
All right, cool. Yeah, guys, if you're planning to go into a Dallas Cowboy in this game, be sure to go with Cowboys Experience for the ultimate meet and greet, stadium tour, game tickets, and tailgating experience. Get to meet players like Julian Novacek, Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Hall of Famer Drew Pearson, and many more. Be sure to go and use the discount code UK Cowboys. And guys, what do you do if you use the code?
You get free stuff.
Get free stuff.
And you get chocolate pudding.
Yeah. Rich will be like that, you guys.
Chocolate pudding is the most important part. But as always, look, we'd like to thank Meg, our very special guest, for joining us tonight. it wasn't the victory party we were hoping for, but we're going to have one on Christmas Day.
I'll dance on that grave soon enough.
Yep, smoke dirty birds in the smoker for Christmas.
We'll be smoking that bird pack in no time, as Ryan would say.
Dallas forever, Philly for never.
Exactly.
It is a good night for me. I'll pass it over to the rest of you to say good night.
Night all. Go Cowboys.
Yeah, night. Night all. Go Cowboys.
Good night. How about them Cowboys?